Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय जयतां सुरतौर्पङ्कमम मन्दमतेर्गति मत्सर्वस्वपदाम्भोजो राधा मदनमोहन दिव्याद्वृन्दारण्यकल्पद्रुमदौ श्रीमद्रत्नागार सिंहासनस्थौ श्रीमद्राधाशिल गोविन्द देवौ पृष्ठालिभिसेव्यमानो स्मरामि श्रीमद्रासरसारम्भी वंशी वटतटस्थितः कर्षन् वेणुस्वनैर्गोपी गोपीनाथस्तेस्तुः वृन्दायै तुलसीदेव्यायै प्रियायै केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्तिप्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिते नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण थैंक यू सो मच फॉर joining in our daily reading of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We see in the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, when he comes down, he is Swayam Bhagavan. But that same Swayam Bhagavan, that is Sri Krishna, he decides to taste the mood, the sentiments, and the experience of his greatest devotee, Srimati Radharani. Even the Lord becomes desirous of knowing what it is that the devotee experiences so much that he is ready to give up everything for the Supreme Lord. So the Lord decides to give up his godly position and take the position of a simple devotee. That is Srimati Radharani. And through the eyes of Srimati Radharani, he wants to experience the whole mood of or the whole journey of what a devotee goes through. There are so many devotees in our Shastra that have been profusely glorified. And Brihad Bhagavatamrit gives a hierarchy of different devotees. That greater than Indra is Brahma, and greater than Brahma is Shivji, and greater than Lord Shiva is. And it goes on like Prahlad Maharaj, and greater than Prahlad Maharaj is Hanuman, greater than Hanuman is Uddhav, and greater than Uddhav are friends of Krishna, and greater than the friends of Krishna are Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba, and greater than Mother Yashoda and Nanda Baba are the Braja Gopis, but greater than the Braja Gopis is Srimati Radharani, and greater than Srimati Radharani, no one. And the whole hierarchy ends at Srimati Radharani. It is Sanatan Goswami explains that Srimati Radharani has so much love for Krishna. I mean, in fact, he puts it this way: the love that the friends of Krishna have for Krishna, it's like Mount Meru. It's huge. Mount Meru is huge. That's how much the friends love Krishna. And in front of the friends of Krishna, the love that the Dwarkavasis have for Krishna, it's like a mustard seed. Dwarkavasis also love Krishna, but that same Dwarkavasis, when they come head on, face on in front of the friends of Krishna, then their love becomes like a mustard seed, and the love of Krishna's friends become like that of a mountain. But when those same friends come face to face in contact with the devotees in Vatsalya Ras, that is Nanda and Yashoda, then the love of Nanda and Yashoda becomes like Mount Meru, and that of the friend of Krishna becomes like a mustard seed. But when that same Nanda and Yashoda in Vatsalya Ras come in contact with Madhuri Ras, that is Madhuri, my Braja Gopis, then the love of the Braja Gopis becomes like Mount Meru, and that of Nanda and Yashoda, that becomes like a mustard seed. But when that same Braja Gopis, when they come eye to eye, face to face, cheek to cheek in front of Srimati Radharani, and Radharani's love for Krishna becomes like Mount Meru, and that of the Braja Gopis become like a mustard seed. And then Sanatan Goswami ends the comparison because after this there is no more scope for comparison. So we can imagine that if the friends of Krishna and Mother Yashodananda Baba and the Braja Gopis, when if their love is compared to a mustard seed in front of Srimati Radharani, how much Srimati Radharani has love for Krishna? It is beyond it is beyond understanding. And we see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes down to this world whenever Sri Krishna comes down, once in a day of Brahma, that is once in about 8 point few billion, 8.4 billion years or so. When Krishna comes down, that's when Shachinandan Gauranga Mahaprabhu comes down in the mood of Radharani, wanting to taste the sentiments in mood of Radharani. But now the question arises, if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has already come down and tasted the mood of Radharani, why is he again and again coming down? एक बार तो स्वाद चख लिए, एक बार तो experience मिल गया. So why is he again coming down? He wanted to experience it once, but he has already done it. Why is he coming every time to this world? Krishna, yes, we can understand. Krishna comes down, Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya cha Dushkritam. He comes down to protect sadhus and kill demons. Mahaprabhu is not killing any demons. He is primarily coming down to taste the mood of Radharani. So he has already done that. Why is he again coming down? Well, our acharyas very beautifully they say that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes down and to taste the mood of Radharani, and he does. He does taste the mood of Radharani. But by the time he tastes and he goes back, Radharani's mood or Radharani's bhakti has increased 10 more times. 10x. It has increased 10x. Now that gap, extra 10x that Krishna has not even experienced. To experience that, he again comes down. And he experiences that and he's convinced, okay, now I think I have understood Radharani. And by the time he again goes back, Radharani's love has again increased 20x. Now he thinks, okay, let me experience that at 20x more. And he again comes back, comes down to this world, experiences through Gadadhar Pandit. And when he goes back, that love has again increased 30x. And in this way, this eternal contest is constantly going on. Radharani's love for Krishna keeps increasing. And that love which has increased to taste that extra love, Krishna Chandra again comes down as Gaura Chandra. And this water cycle continuously keeps going on for time immemorial. So in the course of so many devotees that are present, our Srila Prabhupada, like the sun, manifested in this world to give that same pure, pristine teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We glorified Bhaktivinoda Thakur recently as to how he got the teachings in an unadulterated fashion back to our Sampradaya. And Srila Prabhupada, it was the three bhaktis who were responsible to give us the literatures that we have in a proper authentic fashion. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Three bhaktis contributed in different ways. Bhakti Vinod Thakur made sure that he got all the books and also composed many of them. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gave purports on many of the predecessor acharyas, composed his own books, and built 64 Gaudiya Much inside ISKCON, which means inside India, which means he did preaching inside India. And Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he preserved books, wrote books, translated those books, built temples, built farm communities, made disciples, preached outside of India, then also came back to India and preached inside of India also. So the three bhaktis came together in the form of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Bhakti Vedanta Swami. That is our Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada is like that effulgent moon in the dark sky of Kali Yuga. And in the dark sky, we see whenever there is a moon, it illuminates the whole sky. But apart from the moon, there is something else that we all also love. See, many times in India and also many parts of the world, people prefer to sleep on the grass. And sleeping on the grass, they prefer to see the sky, the night sky. Sometimes there is so much mental anxiety that you just want to go to some place and sleeping on the grass, sometimes in the movies and all they show like that. The hero is sleeping on the grass and he's sleeping and all this sky and stars and all that fancy thing is there. So along with the moon, there are stars that add more flavor and more beauty to the dark sky. So if the dark sky is Kali Yuga, Prabhupada is that moon, and those twinkling stars that add more beauty are the disciples of Prabhupada. They add more rasa, they add more beauty to this dark sky of Kali Yuga. In fact, Srila Giriraj Maharaj goes one step higher and he says, no, 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 they are not stars, they are moons, many moons. He writes a whole book on the different departed disciples of Prabhupada and he says they are different moons. So many of them have departed, like Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj, Sripad Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Jayananda Prabhu, Jamuna Mataji, and so many others. Giriraj Maharaj composes a book for all of them. But when that book got composed, one another moon departed this world. The book was composed, and one more moon, who's a star, whatever you call it, left this world. And Srila Giriraj Maharaj at that time wanted to add that personality into his Many Moons book, but already the printing of the book had started, the publishing had started. So Srila Giriraj Maharaj in the introduction, he writes, I would have loved to add this personality also, but now the because the printing and publishing have already started, it's very difficult to go back and change. But I offer my respects to this Mahabhagavad Vaishnava who breathed, chanted, lived, and left this world, crying out to Srimati Radharani in the land of Sri Vrindavan Dham. All glories to you, Sripad Aindra Prabhu. In the many moons of Giriraj Maharaj, he doesn't mention Aindra Prabhu because the book was almost being published, and that's when Aindra Prabhu left. And sure enough, Aindra Prabhu cannot be mentioned in just a couple of pages. So you need a complete book to describe his personality. And even one book is not enough. There needs to be multiple books to speak about how devoted and scholarly he was to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and how simple he was, and how much he struggled. Oftentimes, in the present day, we find many of the youth are inspired by Sripad Aindra Prabhu, and many try to sing his melodies. Many try to sit like him with one leg stretched out, like the way Sripad Aindra Prabhu would do. And many sometimes even try to wear clothing like him and try to sing like him and things like that. But externally, we can try to imitate how much ever we want. Uh, Sripad Aindra Prabhu himself, when he saw one devotee was singing Aindra Prabhu's tunes, Sripad Aindra Prabhu behind the pillar he saw. And then Sripad Aindra Prabhu came to him and said, you can copy my melodies, you can't copy my bhav. You can copy my melodies, but where will you go for the bhav? Where will you go for the mood? You can't copy that. Unfortunately, you can't copy that. If that also can be copied, it would have been so wonderful. But we can copy the melodies. We cannot copy the person's mood. It needs to be developed. It needs to be generated. Sripad Aindra Bose's life is a success story. It's a complete success story. That if someone follows the teachings of Srila Prabhupada 100%, 10%, then the doors of spiritual world are wide open for that person. He didn't do anything uh, different. He did what the scriptures teach. He did what Srila Prabhupada always emphasized on, which is Harinam Sankirtan, which is emphasis on Sri Nam Prabhu. And we see time and again, all our predecessor acharyas have always stressed on the holy name. Always, always. Whether it is Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Gaur Kishodas Babaji Maharaj, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and even our Prabhupada. And there are so many references that speak about the glories of Sri Harinam Prabhu. And Sripad Aindra Prabhu just captured that essence. He was smart enough to capture. Oftentimes, when we read Shastra, we miss out. Prabhupada, in fact, in the Bhagavad Gita initial purport of the first chapter, Prabhupada said, hence we should chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. In the first chapter itself, in the purport, Prabhupada speaks about chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Well, Krishna is not talking about Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Then the Bhakti Yoga section starts in the seventh chapter. It has not even started. But Prabhupada doesn't wait. Prabhupada starts from the first chapter itself. And oftentimes when we read the Hare Krishna Mahamantra that Prabhupada is emphasizing on, we just flip pages. We say, हाँ ये पता है. Prabhupada keeps saying it again and again. I know. But seldom do we give it so much importance that we are ready to give up everything, execute that one principle called the Yuga Dharma. Yajఞai sankirtanai prayi yajanti hi sumedasah. In Kali Yuga, those people are intelligent who are able to call out to the Supreme Lord through the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Today morning, I was seeing one uh, video of Srila Guru Maharaj from the land of Sri Vrindavan Dham. And Srila Guru Maharaj is resting on the bed. It's out. It's there on YouTube. He's resting on the bed, and the disciple is asking that Maharaj ji, भगवान को पाने के लिए सर्वश्रेष्ठ कार्य क्या है? सर्वश्रेष्ठ मार्ग क्या है? That Maharaj, what is the ultimate way of getting the Supreme Lord? What is that activity by which the Supreme Lord can be attained? And Srila Guru Maharaj said, Bhagavan Naam. नाम की अपरंपार महिमा है. By taking shelter of Krishna's name, Krishna can be achieved for sure. And this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving. But we hear this so many times, but very rare we put it into practice. Aindra Prabhu did it, not just 1 year, not just 2 years. आजीवन आजीवन प्राण समर्पित कर दिए भगवान नाम को. We don't see such devotees again and again, dear devotees. Those who were ready to give up every small thing for to get Krishna. He was he was ready to take any amount of austerities to make it clear to Krishna that, my dear Lord, I want you. In the summers of Vrindavan would be very austere. When Aindraprabhu came to Vrindavan, the summers would be very austere. We know how austere Vrindavan gets. Those who have been to Vrindavan or those who are from Delhi side. आप तो जानते होंगे कि दिल्ली ब्रज it gets very hot. 40, 45, 40 तुम छोड़ ही दीजिए. It goes till 45, goes till 45, 46, 48. Other places don't get so hot. Vrindavan is on another plane altogether. And it's not just that Bhurijan Prabhu, Prabhupada disciple, he remembers and he writes, he says, Vrindavan back in the 80s was so hot that half the time there would be no electricity. There would be power cuts. There was no money coming into the temple. Nothing for the 24-hour kirtan. On top of that, there were no bottled waters. Pani peene ke liye tha nahi. So, Sripad Aindra Prabhu, during those days, he had very few people. It seems 6 weeks during the summers, the children would have their vacation. The Gurukul children would have their vacation. So when they would leave, even though there would be power cuts, the Gurukul had a generator. But because the students have gone for vacation, there would be hardly anyone to even start the generator, to switch on the generator. And so people were burning. It was like boiling hot. गरम गरम तेल या गरम पानी में कैसे डुबाते हैं. It was like that. There was no proper drinking water. So during those days, Aindrapa would drink water. Near Prabhupada's Samadhi, there was a well, and it was a very, very old well, so much so that it was contaminated. Even the Brajvasis knew it's contaminated. But there was no water to drink. There is no bottled water to drink, and Aindrapa has no money. क्या करे? It is hot, and your throat is thirsty, but there is no place to go for water. He could have taken a first flight and gone back to New York from where he comes. He could have gone back to America, where he had a comfortable life. He had an American citizenship, and US में रह के भक्ति प्रचार कर सकते थे. But he still didn't give up. This man was on another level altogether. He was on fire. He was on fire, literal fire. He wanted Krishna means he wanted Krishna. The heat, the cold, it didn't mean anything to him. But it took a toll on his body. He would drink that water which was contaminated. And so much so that even the Brajavasis knew this well was not drinkable. So eventually, years later, it got closed down, and now we don't find a well. But the devotees explain that back in the 80s, near Prabhupada Samadhi Mandir, there was a old well, and either would drink from there. And how about the winters? The winters would be equally cold, and they're still cold. And Aindravu was very vulnerable to cold. Throughout the day, he would be inside the room. One devotee by the name Toshan Krishna Prabhu, he had given Aindravu one stove to cook. So Aindravu had kept it in his room, and Aindravu, that stove, Aindravu nicely decorated with cow dung. He put a nice tilak to it, and Aindravu named it as Bhakta stove. And he would always address the stove as Bhakta stove. He also had a fridge that devotees had given years later. And that fridge also, Aindrapa put eyes to that fridge, he put nose to the fridge, he put a smiling face, and he would call it as Bhakta fridge. Hmm. So all his activities were centered around Krishna consciousness. Everything that he would see, every person he would interact with, were all Bhakti Mai. And during winters, it would be so extreme. Even though he would be inside the room, few minutes he would go out to take bath, and that would be enough for him to catch cold. That would be enough for him to catch cough. The Brajavasis explain, even according to the Vrindavan standards, Aindra Prabhu's room was very hot because his room was on the terrace, literally on the top floor. And because it was on the top floor, naturally there was the sun heat, the sunlight would hit straight on the top floors and then on the lower floors. So Aindra Prabhu's room would get extremely hot. And dear devotees, let me also mention this. There were no fans in his room. There was no air conditioning in his room. Nowadays, when we feel hot, we turn on the AC. If not AC, we turn on the fan. We have all the suvidha. We have all the facilities. Still, हम भजन ठीक से नहीं करते. We have AC, we have fan. Still, we are lazy. Still, we procrastinate. And here is a personality who is practically burning in the summer heat. He would get prickly heats on his body. And his bhakti was so intense. His Gaurnitai started getting prickly heats. Can you believe it? We worship Gaurnitai, but how many times does our Gaurnitai reciprocate to the extent where now on their back we can see prickly hits? We don't see. We what do we say? अरे ये metal है, अष्ट धातु है, ये नीम के है. That's how we address them. But Sripad Aindra Prabhu, when he would get prickly hits, his Lord would get prickly hits. This was the sambandha. We are not talking about some devotee from 1,000 years ago. We are not talking about Srila Jayadev Goswami and personalities like that. We're talking about Aindra Prabhu who just left a couple of years ago. When he would get prickly heat, his Lord Gaurnitai seeing Aindra Prabhu's devotion and surrender to live in Vrindavan, they would get prickly heats on their back. So when the devotees of the 24-hour Kirtan, when they would come, they would tell Aindra Prabhu, why don't you put an AC? Your deities are suffering. Why don't you put an AC? Initially, they started by saying, why don't you sleep in the terrace? And Aindra Prabhu would say, no, how can I sleep in the terrace where I will cool air, but my deities will suffer? My Gauranitai will suffer. He said, I will not do it. And then when the devotees kept persisting again and again and again that why don't you put AC? And Prabhu said, when Radha Shamsundar in the temple, when they get an AC, I will put an AC in my room. Eventually, few years later, Radha Shamsundar did get an AC, but Aindra Prabhu was still reluctant to put an AC in his room. When they asked Indra Prabhu, earlier you were saying Radha Shyam Sundar, if he gets AC, you will put AC in your room. Now we made sure that Radha Shyam Sundar has an AC. Why don't you put AC in your room? Indra Prabhu said, I don't want to be Vrindavan's first air conditioned Baba. I don't want people to say, ये Baba air condition में सोते हैं. Because all the Brajabasis, all the Babas of Vrindavan, they do tapasya. And I don't want to be known as Vrindavan's first air conditioned Baba. नहीं चाहिए. This was his surrender. He wanted everything for the Lord, but he was ready to suffer in the heat, in the cold of Vrindavan, only so that you and I have something in the form of Harinam Sankirtan, have some inspiration, have some taste in the form of Shri Nam Sankirtan. If not for his surrender, I don't think any one of us would even want to pick up a mridanga or to pick up a harmonium or to pick up a kartal. What to speak of Kirtan Melas? What to speak of Kirtan Melas? Dear devotees, you tell me. Before 2010, where was any Kirtan Mela? ISKCON never had any Kirtan Mela before 2010. It is only after this Mahabhagat Vaishnav who dedicated his every life air, every pran to Nam Sankirtan. It is only when Sripad Aindra Prabhu left this world as a tribute, as a mark of respect to this great personality, Kirtan Melas in ISKCON started. It started in Germany 2011 and then started spreading in so many other places. And then now Mayapur Kirtan Mela, and then in Mumbai, every temple has a Kirtan Mela, and so Calcutta and Vrindavan, this, that. But it all started by Sripad Indra Prabhu in the land of Vrindavan as a 24-hour Kirtan. Sripad Indra Prabhu would say the Kirtan here of Vrindavan is so powerful that you get 1,000 times the benefit of doing Kirtan anywhere else in this world, which means he would say, if you have 1,000 24-hour kirtans around the world, that is equivalent to one 24-hour kirtan of Vrindavan Dham. ब्रज का इतना प्रभाव है, ब्रज की इतनी महिमा है, because whatever you do in braj, you get 1,000 times the benefit. So it all started in Vrindavan Dham by Sripad Aindra Prabhu, but we sing his tunes and we try to sit like him. But how many of us can take the heat on our back? How many of us can take the cold on his back, cold on our back? He had kidney stones. Those who drink Vrindavan water, hard water, eventually become victimized by kidney stones. And the Prabhu had kidney stones. And then when the devotees would ask him, why don't you go to Delhi to get it treated? He would say, no, I don't want to leave Vrindavan Dham. Because if I leave Vrindavan Dham, what about 24-hour Kirtan? He was ready to suffer with the kidney stones. I don't know how painful it is, but if anyone here on the call has ever had kidney stones, you would know better than me. Indra Prabhu had kidney stones and still he would not go to Delhi for treatment. He would have severe sinus headache, severe piles problem. Still, he would not go to Delhi for treatment. The medicines would get shipped from there to Vrindavan, Ayurvedic medicines, and he would have that. But वृंदावन छोड़कर अपने सुविधा के लिए हम कहीं नहीं जाएंगे. ठाकुर जी के लिए शायद हम ब्रज छोड़कर जाए, लेकिन हम अपने सुविधा के लिए, अपने मन मर्जी के लिए, अपने शरीर के अपने शरीर को सुख प्रदान करने के लिए हम ब्रज छोड़कर जाए, ऐसे ब्रजवासी नहीं है हम. ये पता इंद्र वुड नेवर लीव वृंदावन. Very, very attached to Braj. And his deities were so dear to him, were so reciprocated to him. One time, Nita Sachi Sutta, and how much love and affection Indra Prabhu had for his deities. Very affectionately, when we call, we say, Nita Sachi Sutta. Well, no, my deity is Nita Navadvip Chandra. We address it this way. But Sripad Indra Prabhu had so much mamata for his deities. Sripad Indra Prabhu would say, honey faced dancing lord of my life. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And buttercream Nitai. He would call Nityananda Prabhu's buttercream Nitai because Nitai is whitish in complexion and butter is like that, right? He would say buttercream, my buttercream Nitai and honey faced dancing lord of my life. The way he would address his deities would be very, very personal. not impersonal, just addressing them in some way, but very, very personal. One time his Nita Sachisuda came in his dream and said, we feel like eating potato chips. Why don't you get us potato chips? And Sripad Aindra Prabhu went to Loi Bazaar, got those potato chips, and then fried them, and it came to his room, and then he put them in the oil and made proper potato chips, and he gave it to the Supreme Lord. And his deities would come so many times. One time, Nityananda Prabhu came in the dream of Sripad Aindra Prabhu and said, in Govardhan, there is one shop called Giriraj Mishtan Bhandar, the Govardhan Parikrama. That shop has very wonderful Rajbhog sweet. There is a sweet called Rajbhog, yellow in color, and it's pretty big. It's the size of like a tennis ball. So that shop has very wonderful Rajbhog sweet. Can you go and get it? And Sripad Aindrapur had never seen this shop. He was not aware of the shop. But because Nitai came in the dream, Aindrapur said, okay, let's go to Govardhan. And he went to Govardhan, and the Parikrama Marg, he was searching, searching, asking different devotees. And lo and behold, he saw the shop, Giriraj Mishtan Bhandar. And his eyes lit up like Jagannath. Why? Because whatever Nitai told in the dream, he was actually seeing that same shop. So it was a confirmation. It is not hallucination. Nitai actually came in the dream and he was referring to this shop. And he went inside and they had the Rajbhog sweet. And the Prabhu packed it up immediately, got it to his Nityananda Prabhu and offered it. And that night Nitai again came in the dream, giving a confirmation. Good, very nice. Keep doing it again and again. So even now that shop is there. When you do Govardhan Parikrama, there's one shop that will come, Giriraj Mishtan Bhandar, and they have this sweet Rajbhog sweet. So whenever you do Govardhan Parikrama or when you're in Vrindavan Dham, I'm not promoting any shop or any sweet, but this is Nitai's favorite, and Aindrapa would offer it to Nitai. So if you're into sweets and you like sweets, which most people do, you may want to try it. It's called Rajbhog. The sweet name is Rajbhog, and the shop is Giriraj Mishtan Bhandar. Yes, someone has written near Dan Ghati. Correct. It is near Dan Ghati. When you're doing parikrama, it's near Dan Ghati. So many of the 24-hour Kirtan devotees, uh, even now they go there because it is Nitai's favorite. Of course, it's not there in Shastra, but through Ayendra Prabhu, you get to know his deities loved it. So deities were very, very reciprocative. Sripad Ayendra Prabhu would say, those who say that Gaur Nitai are not present in this room are biggest fools. Hmm. Sripad Aindra Prabhu would say, I know Gauranis are actually present here. And because they are present, my room is Nitya Navadvip. He would say, my room number 89 is Nitya Navadvip. And when I step outside, it is Bauma Vrindavan. It is the land of Sri Vrindavan Dham. So in my room, I am living in Navadvip. When I go out, it is Vrindavan Dham. So I'm getting the benefit of both dhams just by being at one place. Very, very surrendered to the land of Vrindavan Dham. Ayendra Prabhu, when he would do Kirtan, the intensity of the Kirtan would be such, the heat of Vrindavan would be such. When he would do Kirtan and when he would come back to his room and when he would pass water, Ayendra Prabhu would bleed many times. Khoon behta tha. He would bleed when he would pass water. That was the intensity of his Kirtans. And that is how much he would give. Oftentimes, now when someone is doing kirtan, the attention is more on whether it is Facebook Live, whether it is YouTube Live, whether it's Instagram Live, whether my photos are being clicked, whether it's going to be uploaded, and how many people are sitting and how many are chanting, and it's all social media based. Mhm. But when Sripad Prabhu would do, there was nothing. There was none of these things. 2005 was when YouTube came. In 2010, Aindrapur left, which means from 1986, not even 86, even before that, he joined 73. From 1973 to 2005, there were there's like so many kirtans that he would have done that were never recorded. Imagine so many kirtans you have done for hours and hours and they're not being recorded. This this selfless mood of Sripad Aindrapur is what makes him very, very special. He did it for Radha Shama Sundar. For him, the audience was Radha Shama Sundar. The audience was Krishna Balram Mandir. The heat of Vrindavan would be so austere for him that If he didn't drink water, there would be dehydration. But if he drank water, then the rashes on his bodies would burn because of the water that he would drink. He would sweat, he would perspire, and that perspiration, because it is salt water, pasina, that would hit the rashes, and the rashes would burn. So either ways, he would suffer. If he didn't drink water, there would be dehydration. If he drank water, the perspiration would burn the rashes. Imagine. It was never easy for. It's never easy for anyone who gets Krishna. For Prabhupada, for many of Prabhupada's disciples, and for Sripad Aindra Prabhu, they were ready to go the extra distance to show it to Krishna that, my dear Lord, I really want you. Aindra Prabhu was that personality who didn't do things 100%. He did things 200%. He gave more than what even Krishna wanted out of anyone. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gets of the 64 limbs, he gets it down to the five limbs, Panchanga Bhakti, the most five important limbs of Krishna consciousness. And if you see the life of Sripad Aindra Prabhu, he did all five of them. Hmm. Bhagavad Sadhu Sangha, he did lot of Sadhu Sangha. He did lot of Sadhu Sangha and he was a Sadhu. So he gave Sadhu Sangha. He did Sadhu Sangha and he gave Sadhu Sangha. Both were there. Bhagavad Shravan, he would hear Srimad Bhagavatam. He would also speak about Srimad Bhagavatam. One time, one German devotee was giving a Bhagavatam class. And as he was giving Bhagavatam class, it was book distribution time. So he said, well, everyone should go out for distributing books. And if someone doesn't go out for distributing books and is just sitting at home, then he's like a Mataji, because Matajis are, inside the home. They do household work. And Prabhuji should be going out. They should be distributing books and so on and so forth. So if someone is not distributing books, oh, they're like a Mataji. That German devotee said in one class. And Sripad Aindra Prabhu was sitting behind and he heard this. Aindra Prabhu put his hand up. And when Aindra Prabhu puts his hand up, there's going to be something pretty interesting that's going to pop up. Sripad Aindra Prabhu put his hand up and said, well, in Vrindavan, we don't mind being a Mataji. We are very happy to be a Mataji in Vrindavan. Now, the context that Aindra Prabhu was speaking was in connection to his spiritual form, because he is the Manjari maidservant of Radharani, who are feminine in nature, who are Matajis in nature. So Sripad Aindra Prabhu, when he heard that, he said, well, in Vrindavan, we don't mind being a Mataji. Sripad Aindra Prabhu again would say, when we join the movement, it is Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur Das Das Anudas. But when the living entity becomes very advanced and has got Krishna, he realizes it is Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur Dasi Dasi Anudasi. Because you end up following the Braja Gopis, you end up following the Manjaris. Gopi Bhartur Padakamalayur Dasi Dasi Anudasi. There are some things written in the book. There are some things that come through realization. The realizations are very sweet. Those who perform bhakti sincerely, there is an outpour of realization in their heart. So, he did sadhusanga, he did bhagavad, he did dham people, he did dham, and he did Srimurti Seva. All of them he did in the highest possible extent. Devotees, Tamil we had more than 2,000 different types of devotees. Isn't the voice clear in your voice? No is able to hear? Hare Krishna. Is it okay? Any better? Okay. I don't know what the problem was, but anyway. Um, yeah, to speak about Sripad Aindra Prabhu, you have to put in all the energy that you have, like the way he did for Nam Sankirtan. You cannot be complacent. And he would never like that. One time Sripad Aindra Prabhu was doing Kirtan and there's one devotee sitting next to him. And he was not singing as such, like he was just sitting. And Sripad Aindra Prabhu looked at him and said, don't just look there looking pretty. If you're there in Kirtan, sing it as loud as possible. यानी वहां बैठे बैठे अपने खूबसूरती को बस निहारते मत रहिए। यदि आप कीर्तन में बैठे हैं तो उच्च स्वर में, उच्च कंठ में नाम से कीर्तन करिए। So he would always encourage, by the means of inspiration, he would always encourage devotees to chant as loud as possible. We can speak so much about Ayendra Prabhu. It's a never-ending discussion. It's a never-ending debate. There's so many things that we can speak about his Nam Nishtha, about his realization. How every place where Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, where he says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja, Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. And Ayendra Prabhu's realization was in Kali Yuga that Mam is Nam, because Mam means Krishna, and Nam in Kali is also Krishna. So he would replace all the Mams with Nams. So now the verse becomes Sarva Dharman Parityajya Nam Ekam Sharanam Braja. He would say Krishna in the Gita is saying, oh, abandon everything and take shelter of Nam. But where? Sharanam Braja. Go to Braja, Vrindavan, and take shelter of Nam. And he would say, see, that's what I'm doing. Krishna is saying in the Gita. Satatam Kirtayanto Nam. Krishna is saying, do Kirtan Satatam. Of what Nam? He would say, see, 24-hour Kirtan. That's what I'm doing. And now this understanding is correct because Mam is Nam in Kali. Krishna is coming down as his holy name. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Abhinatvam Nama Namina. The Puranas explain Abhinatvam Nama Namina. Nam and Nami are not different. Nam is Krishna and Nami is also Krishna. So every place where we find Mam in Bhagavad Gita, if you replace by Nam, and the Buddha would say, see, that's what Krishna is saying. नाम च यो व्यभिचारेण भक्ति योगेन सेवते स गुणान समति तैत्यन ब्रह्म भूयाय कल्पते 14:26 Bhagavad Gita. Krishna there explains mam cha, it is mam cha yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate, that someone who takes up the practice of bhakti yoga sa gunan samati taitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate, that he uh, crosses this material shell, brahma bhuyaya kalpate, crosses this material shell and comes back to me. And Andhra would say nam cha yo vyabhicharena, those who take shelter of nam, one pointed, then that person crosses this material shell and goes back to Krishna. So every place of the Gita, mam was being replaced by nam. And he was taking the essence of Kali Yuga from that. Sripad Aindra Prabhu had this one desire. One Mataji was explaining, had his desire when he was asked about his departure. Aindra Prabhu said, I want to depart with in front of my Gaurnitai when no one is there. No one should be around when I depart. That was one of his desires. Another point, in another instance, when Aindra Prabhu was asked, Aindra Prabhu said, on a hot summer afternoon, somewhere behind Giriraj, offering obeisances to Giriraj, I want to give up my body. Oftentimes, when we are asked, we don't even think about departure. We'll say, ah, बहुत साल है प्रभु जी, अब तो हम बचपन है, अभी तो जिंदगी स्टार्ट हुई है, अभी और 40-50 साल है. And departure, well, I want many people around me and all of them should be glorifying me. That would be our desire. People should be there around saying, wow, what this person was so great, he did so much. And it only puffs our false ego mode. And Sripad Aindra Prabhu's mood was either in front of Gaurnitai or behind Giriraj. When I leave my body, no one should be there around. And indeed, that's what happened. When Aindra left his body, he left near Gaurnitai, offering obeisance to Nityananda Prabhu. No one was there around. It was very hot, even though it was not afternoon, it was very hot because there was a gas leak. There was a gas leak and the room became very hot. And Aindra Prabhu had Giriraj pendant, Giriraj Shila on his neck. So on a hot night, with fire around, with Giriraj on his chest. He was all alone, offering his obeisance to Gaurnitai. On two different occasions, he had asked two different things from the Supreme Lord as his departure. And the Supreme Lord kind of combined both of them and gave him that departure that he aspired for in his room in room number 89. Of course, now When Sripad Aindra Prabhu was asked, should we give you samadhi after you depart, or what should we do? And Sripad Aindra Prabhu said, no. If you give me samadhi, then it will take many, many years for my body to disintegrate with the dust of Vrindavan. Because you will put salt, and then by the time my body disintegrates, it will take many, many, many years for it to mix with the land of Vrindavan Dham, to mix with the dust of Vrindavan. Aindra Prabhu said, after I leave, cremate my body, cremate my body. Actually, Aindra Prabhu deserved a samadhi. What was that thing that he didn't do that the sannyasis do? He did everything. He did more than that. But his mood and his purpose. Many times devotees ask that why was an Aindrapur given samadhi? Because it was his own desire. He wanted the body to be cremated so that every particle of Aindra Das gets mixed with the Raj of Vrindavan Dham. The mood of the devotees are they don't want to be recognized. They want that the name of their Supreme Lord, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, should be spread everywhere. They don't want any personal gain. They don't want any personal satisfaction. When Srila Guru Maharaj was asked that should we write a book about you? Because you see Radha Govinda Maharaj, there is no book about his life. There are books about Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, books about Indrajumna Maharaj, books about Radhanath Maharaj, there are books about Jayapataka Maharaj, there are books about Tamal Krishna Maharaj, there are books about so many other Bhakti Charu Maharaj. But there's no book that speaks about the life of Srila Radha Govinda Maharaj. So when Guru Maharaj was asked that uh, can we write a book about you? Srila Guru Maharaj to that he replied, राधा गोविंद दास गोस्वामी नामक ऐसे कोई व्यक्ति थे, ये आगे चलकर किन्हीं को पता ही नहीं चलना चाहिए। ऐसे कोई अस्तित्व में था, ऐसा कोई व्यक्ति था, आगे चलकर किसी को पता नहीं चलना चाहिए। They should not, in the future, no one should even know that Radha Govind Das Goswami, there was a personality by this name. Why? Because Srila Guru Maharaj said it's not required. They should know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they should know about Krishna. Whether I existed, whether I didn't exist, is immaterial. It doesn't play any significant role. Indra Prabhu was in the similar caliber. In fact, when Srila Guru Maharaj went to meet Sripad Aindra Prabhu in his room, they had a conversation. And when Guru Maharaj came out, the disciples asked Srila Guru Maharaj about his interaction with Aindra Prabhu. And to that, Srila Guru Maharaj said, room बहुत बिखरा पड़ा है. Aindra Prabhu's room was always very messy. He would keep it things here and there. So Guru Maharaj said, उनका रूम बहुत बिखरा पड़ा है, यहाँ वहां रखते हैं, लेकिन इस बात में कोई दोहराई नहीं है कि आइंद्रा एक शुद्ध वैष्णव है. श्रीला गुरु महाराज सेड दैट. इसमें कोई दोहराई नहीं है कि आइंद्रा एक शुद्ध वैष्णव. ही इज अ प्योर डिवोटी, देयर इज नो डाउट अबाउट दिस. When Srila Jayapataka Maharaj got the stroke in 2009, Sripad Aindra Prabhu, like a very compassionate god brother, was doing kirtans in the land of Vrindavan called as the Jayapataka Swami Recovery Kirtans. Every night, Aindra Prabhu personally for 2 hours from night 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Aindra Prabhu 2 hours would do kirtan for the quick recovery of Srila Jayapataka Maharaj. So when after a couple of months, when Jayapataka Maharaj, uh, when his health improved a bit, and they told the Jayapataka Maharaj that Maharaj, Indra Prabhu, your god brother in Vrindavan is doing recovery kirtans for you, only so that you recover fast. Srila Jayapataka Maharaj said, I know he's doing kirtans for me. And no one had told Srila Jayapataka Maharaj before that because he was in hospital and Indra Prabhu was in Vrindavan. They didn't have a phone conversation with each other. But somehow mystically, when Jayapataka Maharaj was told about this, Jayapataka Maharaj said, I know Indra is doing it for me. So Indra Prabhu was very selfless. Very selfless. He never did Nam Sankirtan for name, fame, reputation. He never did for social media presence, for followers, Nam, Pratishtha, Puja, Love, Stri. He never did for any of these things. It was purely with one intention, some Siddhir Haritoshana. It was only for this desire of pleasing Krishna and inspiring everyone to come together congregationally to please Krishna. When more the number of devotees come for Nam Sankirtan, the better it is. The faster and the more the chances are there to please Krishna and attract Krishna's heart. Sripad Aindra Prabhu eventually was found behind his Gaurnitai deities, offering obeisances to Nityananda Prabhu. Of course, I am just keeping it very short. Just we can go into so much detail, but it's already getting late in India and here also. But Sripad Aindra Prabhu was found behind his Gaurnita deities offering obeisances. It was a Saturday morning, July 17th, 2010. And Sripad Aindra Prabhu normally every Saturday and Sunday he would do deity dressing for Radha Shama Sundar. And it was Saturday morning, it was 6:45 in the morning, and Aindra Prabhu didn't turn up. And 7:15 is Darshanarti, and Radha Sham Sundar are not dressed. So devotees were sent to Aindra Prabhu's room and they started knocking Aindra Prabhu's door, and he didn't open the door. And eventually the locksmith was called, and somehow uh, the door was broken because there were three doors. And there were three doors. One was a normal door, one was a mosquito net door, um, one was a normal door, one was a mosquito net door, and third was a soundproof door that he had used for his recording purposes. So he had three doors, and eventually when they broke open the door, the whole room in the morning was smoky. The whole room was smoky. His Gaurnita had turned black because of the smoke, and they couldn't even see Indra Prabhu. They were like, Indra Prabhu, Indra Prabhu. And then, as the smoke kind of settled down, they saw Sripad Indra Prabhu. Even after 8 hours of departure, was still offering his obeisances to Gauranga and Nityananda. All his life, this personality gave his life for Gauranga and Nityananda, and even after departure, he still continued to offer obeisances to Nityananda Prabhu. जीते जी भी भगवान को समर्पित हो गए, मरने के तत्पश्चात भी भगवान को समर्पित हो गए. Whether alive or whether after departure, this personality gave his heart, he gave his life to the Supreme Lord. And even after they got the body of Sripad Aindra Prabhu, one devotee was telling me that because of the fire explosion in the room, a bit of his skull, that's the skin on the skull, was chipped off. His eyelids were burned. His back was burned. But he was still offering obeisances to Nityananda Prabhu. What dedication, dear devotees, what surrender. यदि हम अपने आप को देखकर बोले कि मैं शुद्ध वैष्णव हूँ, मैं उच्च श्रेणी का भक्त हूँ, आई एम अ सीनियर डिवोटी, तो ये तो वही बात होगी कि हम अपने ही we are just laughing at ourselves. We become laughing stock. Here are personalities who are at the epitome of self-realization, and they are feeling that they are nothing. Look at Kaviraj Goswami. Kaviraj Goswami says, "Those who hear my name, they will acquire पाप. जे मोरा नाम सुने तार पुण्य क्षय तारा पाप होय." Kaviraj Goswami says, "Those who hear my name, all their punya will be taken away, or they will only get pap in their life." Kaviraj Goswami says that. And here was again Shripada who lived a simple life but gave it everything that he had to get Krishna. Nothing holding back, absolutely nothing holding back. One doctor was telling me when there is fire in the room, the fire starts eating the oxygen. The oxygen level in the room starts depleting because fire has a tendency of eating the oxygen. Hmm. And as the oxygen level goes down, the person starts suffocating. That's how there's immediate death. If there is fire, the person is burned to death. If there is no fire and just smoke, still the person dies out of suffocation because as a human being, we need oxygen to breathe. And naturally, when the person is getting suffocated, you do not bend down. Why? Because when you bend down, you're contracting your chest, and this makes breathing more difficult. What do we do? जब सांस लेने में दिक्कत होती है, we expand our chest, right? We expand our chest so that we can take in more oxygen, but we don't contract our chest because this makes it more difficult. Now, when you offer obeisances, what are we doing? We are contracting our chest. This makes the breathing more difficult. When there is already smoke in the room, breathing is difficult. When you're contracting and offering obeisances, this makes the breathing more and more and more difficult. That doctor was saying, no human being will ever do this. Why? Because अपने ही पैर पे कोई कुल्हाड़ी क्यों मारेगा? When you're already having difficulty breathing, why will you make it more difficult? But he was saying that Aindrabu was another plane altogether. He was finding it difficult to breathe, but he didn't care. He thought, in this state, there is nothing else I can do for you, my dear Lord. I cannot cook for you. I cannot chant for you. I cannot read books for you. I cannot do puja for you, my dear Lord. हार गया मैं आपके लिए कुछ भी नहीं कर सकता. The only thing that I can do that you have taught, man mana bhavamat bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. You have said, my dear Lord, you like if someone does namaskuru. मैं हार गया भगवान. The only thing I can do for you is namaskuru. I will offer obeisances for you. Please take my one last obeisance. I have done whatever I can. I don't know whether you were impressed. But my dear Lord, if this one obeisance pleases you, then this is for you. All his life, he gave his throat, his hands, his legs, his everything for Krishna. And even while departure, he gave his head, he gave his hands, he gave his legs, he gave his everything. The air in the lungs that were there, that also he gave it for Krishna, my dear Lord. Everything's for you. Our bhakti is nowhere close. Is nowhere close. We are light years behind personalities like Sripad Aindra Prabhu. और हमें पता भी नहीं will there ever be a day when we will even get Krishna. But we are still having some hope against hope that someday we by our own endeavor may not get, but personalities of Sripad Aindra Prabhu, if they bless, if they put a recommendation for us to Krishna, then maybe we'll have some hope. Otherwise, एकाकी अमार नाही पाया बल हरि नाम संकीर्तन. अपने बलबूते में भगवान कभी प्राप्त नहीं हो पाएंगे. बट यदि इंद्र को एक रिकमेंडेशन डालिए राधा और कृष्ण के लिए, then maybe we will have some hope of getting Radha and Krishna. Maybe we will have some hope of developing taste for Nam. Maybe we will have that same surrender of living in Vrindavan, irrespective of winter or summer. So on this day, dear devotees, let us pray to Sripad Aindravo wholeheartedly. I know it's almost night in India and it's day here in the US. But if you're fond of cooking, you can cook so many preparations for Aindravo. Aindravo like Karela rings. Karela ka यदि वो ring बनाए and you make it. He would like Karela rings. He would like potato chips. He would like kachoris. He would like samosas. He would like khichidis. He would like tinda. No? You have tinda, tinde ki sabji. He would like that. So if someone is into cooking and wants to do something for Ayendra Prabhu, it doesn't matter if the day is over or not. You can still do it tomorrow. Bhav matters. You can still do it tomorrow and offer it to Sripad Ayendra Prabhu and pray that my dear Ayendra Prabhu, this is the least I can do for you. Please shower your mercy. Tumi kripa kori shraddha bindu diya. If you shower your kripa, then I will get little shraddha. Shraddha bindu diya. So these are some things that he liked as far as food preparations are concerned. If we are inspired and if we are good at cooking, we can cook them for Shripad Indra Prabhu and offer it and pray for his mercy. Anyway, I have spoken a lot, and this is probably the longest Chaitanya Charitamrita class that we have had from the time we started. We had it for an hour straight. But again, we didn't discuss anything about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but we discussed about one of Mahaprabhu's very legendary devotee who blessed Mother Earth, and almost like a modern day Haridas Thakur. Sripad Indra Prabhu ki jai. His attachment to Nam Sankirtan ki jai. Shri Vrajabhumi Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Jai Jai Shri Radhe Shyam. Sripad Indra Prabhu's 14th Tirobhava Mahotsava ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.